John Marino is back, but when? Aha. Plus, we have some injury updates and a Montreal Canadiens preview coming your way. Stay tuned. Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño. It's the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in once again to the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. I am veteran NHL voice Tom Callahan alongside longtime team analyst Robyn Leaño, and we are the dynamic duo that appreciates you making us your first listen every single day when it comes to the Utah Hockey Club. And Robyn, on today's show, there is a Marino sighting, possibly Tuesday night, but definitely, well, we'll talk about that. And then we have other injury updates, of course, and a Montreal preview to get to as this homestand continues. 4 games left. It starts Tuesday night against the Habs.
Oh, yeah. I feel like this is going to be, a really packed show. I think a lot of you guys definitely want to stay locked in all day as, we get excited. Really good, that should be a fun game coming up tonight. Plus, with those injury updates, some positive, some not so much, but heck, we'll get you guys all right into it.
Yes, and first things first, with Montreal coming to town, tough loss to the Islanders. Real tough loss, especially back-to-back after they win over the Sharks. You lose to the Islanders, a game that was winnable. And I didn't think one goal was going to do it. I hoped Utah would find more ways to score. They didn't, but now you have a Montreal Canadiens team coming in, Robyn, that is near the bottom of the Atlantic, near the bottom of the East, in fact, and the NHL itself, and is 26th in goals against per game. They allow 3.29 on average per game. So it seems like Utah Hockey Club has had trouble putting pucks in the net lately. Could this be the tonic? Could Montreal be the team that kickstarts the offense a little more?
I would think this is a really good opportunity for them to do that. You take a look at where Montreal is at. They're definitely, not the most productive team out there, and that should help out Utah. We've talked about this though, Tom, where the Utah Hockey Club has had some struggles playing games at home. They don't have their best games at home. They play much better away, which is the same case for a lot of NHL teams this year. But again, with a team like Montreal coming in, where they're not as bad as they were just a couple of years ago, but they're still, as you said, close to the bottom of the standings here in the Eastern Conference and in the Atlantic Division. But it still feels, and it feels still a far difference from that COVID year team that made the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, that was quite the run by the Canadiens back then. Nobody saw that coming.
No,
absolutely nobody. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets if you win or if you lose your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Robyn, if anybody had seen that coming, they could have cleaned up in FanDuel. But for those who haven't been around long enough to know what that was all about, let's talk about that kind of crazy run, which basically was all Carey Price, and he may require some explaining as well. But why the Montreal Canadiens found themselves in the Stanley Cup final in the COVID years.
I think one of the biggest reasons, Tom, and I feel like a lot. You could maybe anyone could admit it, is the difference of how the quote bubble worked, right? A lot of teams were grouped differently, so you might have not been in teams in your same conference. So maybe you might have been lucky. You might have been just got up against teams that just weren't up to your same level. Not to mention no crowds, just completely empty arenas. It was a whole different experience that year.
And Montreal made that run in a year when ordinarily they would not have even been there. They were a team that they expanded the playoffs for that year just to
It was
be
the play-in round.
right. They for the first and only time they had those play-in rounds to allow because they cut the season off in March. And so there was never a finish to the schedule. When they reconvened in the summer in the bubble, they essentially said we're going to have some play in here for these teams and then we'll get down to our 8. And Montreal was one of the teams that was in the play-in bracket and played their way in and then played their way through the Eastern Conference. And it was a remarkable run. And I'll tell you what, we talk about a goaltender getting hot, stealing you a game, stealing you a series. I think Carey Price stole most of that all the way up to the Stanley Cup final. It was wild.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And I think too, especially in around a time when Carey Price, and I think it was around that time. I think it was that late the late 2010s, the early 2020s, around that era when I feel like goalies were going through mental health. They were kind of going through all that stuff. Carey Price certainly was one of those goalies that was kind of going through their own kind of situations. And but I mean, even despite that, take a look at the run that he made and just made that immense kind of comeback.
Yeah, he did an amazing job. And Price is unfortunately he battled not only the mental side of things, but also some physical injuries that really were his ultimate undoing. It's a shame we didn't get to see him play a few more seasons, but arguably the best goaltender of his era. And especially I think that performance really showed it. But Montreal doesn't have that anymore. Montreal does not. They're still kind of figuring it out. They have Montembeault in net for the most part, who's still young, figuring it out, is up and down. Some nights he looks like he could be the guy to carry the ball for a long, long time. And then other nights, not so much. So they haven't sorted that out yet. They're young in a lot of places. They're trying to transition a leadership group. And now you've got a third-year coach in Martin St. Louis, who I think he's still learning on the job at this point, kind of jumped into it without ever having had head coaching experience. So he is still, on his learning curve. And there's just a lot of things going on with this team. They've battled injuries, they've battled inconsistency, and you have to hope that Utah Hockey Club can take advantage of that.
Oh yeah, certainly. And I feel like that's kind of what's going to put them in a good opportunity here. And we talked about, a lot of like this stretch of the homestand is games that should be, quote, winnable. These are games that should at least help be a confidence booster. We talked about how important they are too, right? Because this is around that time of the year. And I mentioned in the last episode, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in multiple of the last previous episodes that I've been on, Tom. But now that we're past the halfway point in the season, everything means a lot more. Even against these kind of teams, right? Even if it's a team that should be a win, and again, in heavy quotations, more should be. We're never going to guarantee a win here. On this show, I will never guarantee a win.
No, and we definitely shouldn't. We definitely shouldn't. So that's important. A couple other notes I had just about Montreal. Patrick Laine's back again. Missed 4 games with an illness and did score in the loss to Dallas in a shootout. He's got 9 goals, 11 points, so he's their Cy Young leader right now. 14 games played this year. He missed the first 2 months of the season because of a knee injury. And then remember last year, he missed significant time with Columbus, then entered the players' assistance program over the summer. So Laine's had a heck of a calendar year trying to get back to just playing on a regular basis. So I know personally he's hoping 2025 is better for him. And I think Patrick Laine has the ability to be a big-time impact guy, but I think he went from the Jets to the Jackets, now to the Habs. Everybody's kind of waiting to see if he's ever going to get back to being that dominant kind of figure.
I mean, his rookie season, he was phenomenal, right? You take a look at how he was that year. I mean, though, that draft class as a whole was just insane, right? So I feel like you're holding him to the expectation of that same draft class. And when he doesn't hold up to that, you take a look at, your Connor McDavid, for example. He's like, that's a whole different that's an unfair example because Connor McDavid's Connor McDavid. But I mean, when you're drafted just one above, essentially 1 versus 2, like there is still that level of expectation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jack Eichel, who ended up with the Sabres in that draft. So it went McDavid, then Eichel, and Eichel's won a Stanley Cup, just not with Buffalo.
Yeah.
Love pointing that one out. It's interesting how things just changed like that. With that fall of the ping pong balls, what could have been, how could franchises have been different? How could everybody's careers have been different? Would the guys have ended up in different places? Obviously, we'll never know. But Laine has the weight of expectation on him, and still, and I think that's why teams continue to take chances on great players who are super talented but can't always put it together.
Yeah,
because they want to see them put it together.
Yeah, because maybe it might be, hey, you didn't work with this structure. Maybe you might work with our structure.
Right.
Sometimes that's the case, and some players get lucky. Someone be like, oh, this doesn't work for me either. That's not working for me either. And all of a sudden they don't find their stride until like well into their later 20s when they're finally hitting their what should be at their peak, but they couldn't build the momentum at that point. And I feel like that's kind of the struggle that Laine has been going through, which is unfortunate, but like I said, especially if you compare to the that era of draft classes.
Absolutely. All right, we've got keys to the game. We've got injury updates and a potential there will be a John Marino sighting, but when? We'll discuss. And today's show is brought to you in part by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. And I'll tell you what, it's wild card weekend was awesome in the NFL. Now everything's set. The bracket is set. The matchups are going to be tough, but there's still going to be some nuggets to be found in there. So absolutely make sure you head over to FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here with you in the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Don't forget while you're here to subscribe to the podcast, whether you're listening to us through your podcast app of choice or you're watching us on YouTube. Go ahead, click that subscribe button right now. Also, if you are on YouTube, give us the old thumbs up. Give it a like. It helps us with the algorithm, and it puts more great content like this in front of you as well. Plus, if you click the bell, you'll get notified every time we drop a new show. So, all right, housekeeping out of the way. Robyn, keys to the game against Montreal.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and bring those up and discuss what you go ahead and put on your docket, Tom.
Absolutely. And in this original 6 matchup, I think the first key is to put Laine on his Heine. They have to be all over Patrick Laine. They've got to be physical on him. They can't give him time and space. Someone has to be draped on him. He is always a danger to score, especially on the power play. I think 6 of his 9 goals this year are on the power play. So stay out of the box. Don't let Patrick Laine do anything. Have a guy glued to him and play him physical. He does not like to be hit. Very few guys do. But Laine will be made to disappear if you play him physically. So do that. Pressure early and often, not just Patrick Laine, but with a team that gives up as many goals as the Canadiens do and struggling as they are, Utah Hockey Club at home really needs to come out and have a good first period. I think they've had some even first periods with teams. They've had some lackluster first periods where they failed to really get going right away. I want to see them come out and have a dominant first period. I don't think we've seen that. And it doesn't have to be shots on goal. It doesn't have to be scoring chances. I want to see zone time. I want to see puck possession. I want to see aggressive forechecking, winning those puck battles on the wall. I want to see this team get in there, get dirty, bring the lunch pail and the hard hat, pressure early and often, and play the hits or play for the hits. Piggyback off what I was talking about with the pressure. Be physical, Robyn. Get in there, throw the shoulder. Again, when guys are looking over their shoulder because you've been following through on your checks, and it doesn't always have to be a blow someone through the glass hit, right? A guy makes a pass, he gets bumped. That's enough. But you have to finish your route and finish that check. And when you do that consistently, guys know it's coming. And even that can get annoying. They don't want to be hit. They want to move the puck quicker. Those are all big things that Utah Hockey Club can utilize to find a victory here.
Oh, certainly. And I feel like that, like, to me, taking care of that is a huge thing, making note and following through on all those hits, because, and as you mentioned, it's just something as simple as just, breaking the body away from the puck, allowing it to be open, free puck, be able to pick it up, and hopefully maybe you can turn it into a play yourself, make a good breakout, something, and get things working in your direction. And two, I think, I definitely agree with you on, in scoring early and getting going early and often. To me, I also really am heavily going to judge what they do in the second period. I know it's last couple months or whatever. Second period's always been kind of like it's been either really good or really poor. This is a team that I've yet like that has inconsistently doesn't put together their a full 60-minute game. I want to be able to see that because it's going to be crucial down this road. And yeah, sure, you're playing against a team that's not as good, but even then, no matter what, play a full 60-minute game, put out a full effort the entire length of a hockey game.
Absolutely. And Cole Caulfield's another guy to watch, by the way. 23 goals on the year. That is tied for 7th in the NHL. So if you were going anytime goal with somebody, Caulfield's not a bad guy to pick. He's another one they're going to have to shadow pretty closely. So, Robyn, do we want to take a look at the FanDuel odds for the game?
Yeah, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and just do that.
You want to save that to the end when we make our picks?
Yeah, let's save that to when we make our picks.
All right, let's do that. I'll tell you what. So why don't we go ahead? We're going to pause for a moment here. We'll talk some injury updates. We'll tell you about John Marino and his comeback, plus a Maverick Lamoureux update, as well as a couple others in there. And we'll get to that right after this.
And today's episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. For me, the best feature certainly to me is that subscription tracker. I've been able to find or really track down and cancel those subscriptions that have really been pesky for me. I saw it was there. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to take care of it and how to cancel it. Rocket Money really helped me figure all that out and really helped save me money because I didn't want to have to pay for a subscription. I didn't even know what I was using it for. It really saved me a ton. Plus, with the goals features, I was really able to automatically set some money aside for my future so I could really help budget every month because it's been really stressful sometimes. I haven't been the absolute best with money, but Rocket Money has certainly made it easier to focus on my future and get those savings aside without really having to think about it all too much. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon.
All right. So as we get back here, taking a look at the injury updates, what's going on here? The very first injury update, Robyn, is the most exciting injury update. There's a John Marino sighting, and that John Marino sighting will happen for all of the fans of the Utah Hockey Club at some point this week. It has been confirmed by head coach Andre Tourigny at practice on Monday that we will see Marino this homestand. Now, when asked if it would be Tuesday night against Montreal, he said,
To me, it's just like, okay, I know, like, I kind of understand the coaching situation here is that you don't want to reveal that, right? You don't want to give Montreal the edge. You don't want to let them know. You don't want to let Montreal know that someone coming in their first game back. I mean, they got to be have Montreal be ready for any kind of defensive line pairing you can possibly have here. Is it probably a what's the term I'm looking for? A quote well-known secret probably at this point that we could see on the night. I think the needle is pointing in the right direction here, Tom.
I agree with that, and we'll talk about his place in the lineup here when we get to the lines. We're going to check those in just a moment, so stay tuned for that. But a couple other injury updates: Maverick Lamoureux has been sent to Tucson of the American Hockey League as he gets back to being healthy here. And then Dylan Guenther, lower body injury right now, week to week. It's kind of weird, and of course, it's funny. I was telling Robyn before the show, a lot of times what I do is I'll read the transcript of what Coach Tourigny says, and in my head I have to read it in his accent because it doesn't always translate literally until you put the French English on it, and then even then sometimes I do have to go back and listen to it to know exactly what he's saying, to make sure that I translate it correctly from the AI generated transcript. So I've been looking through that, and I was, going through his practice comments again on Monday, and the best I can figure, and even actually going back a little ways, but because he likes his misdirection, doesn't he, Robyn? He likes to be kind of nebulous, kind of vague. Said it's going to be long, not too long, but already too long, meaning any time without him is too much time without him, and it's going to be a while, but not season ending. It's going to be a while. So to me, this is my categorization. That's week to week.
Yeah, that certainly seems fair. And it's, I mean, it is unfortunate because I feel like, and as we've talked about, Dylan Guenther is a huge part of the scoring for this team. So you need that. But as we've discussed in the past, is in the quote ideal world here, we already know this team can score from anybody can score. It's a pretty good offense that they have on this team.
They do. And Josh Doan comes up from Tucson. He slots in on that second line setup. And as a matter of fact, if we want to throw the lines up there, we can talk about this. Having a look at that. So you see Doan there with Hayton and Michelli, or if you're listening, it is Doan, Hayton, and Michelli. I'll give you the forward lines if you're listening. So it's Keller, Cooley, and Schmaltz, Michelli, Hayton, and Doan, McBain, Bjugstad, Crouse. That line, I always circle, highlight, underline those guys. I think as the game goes,
that's your power forward line right there.
They dictate everything for me. If they're having a good game, Utah is going to win. Kerfoot, Stenlund, and Carconi. And then the defensive pairings are Sergachev and Mata, Cole, Kesselring, Valimaki, and Marino. And Robyn, you even said there was a defensive pairing that we did not list here, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, there's a defensive. I couldn't fit it in here based off our own graphic, but there was an additional defensive pairing that could change depending on whether or not Marino actually plays or not. But But Vladislav Koyachanuk and Nick DeSimone were a fourth pairing during line rushes on Monday morning.
And I think part of that is disguising whether or not Marino is in or out. I really think that's part of that. So the other thing that's going to be interesting, and oh, by the way, Vejmelka is starting for sure. We know that Veggie will be in against Montreal. So to me, I'm kind of wondering, let's start with Marino. Let's say he is back against Montreal. To me, managing his minutes, having him in a 5-6 minutes pairing is not the worst thing for his first game back. Do I eventually expect him to be a 3-4? Yes, absolutely I do. But there's no hurry to get him there. And so I think 5-6 minute pairing, that's fair. That's fair. And I think that is probably good, maybe even for the duration of the homestand, unless he shows, that he's able to jump in and swim a little more.
If let's say Marino actually does play tonight, it is confirmed. We're all good. We're all good to go. And on top of that, has one hell of an amazing game. Like, he looks like he doesn't even skip a beat. Is it possible? Sure. Are we going to see? Yeah, well, again, you will have to see. But if that's the case, if he does look like he doesn't skip a beat, then yeah, you just like, yeah, let's see what you can do on those second pair of minutes.
And there's nothing saying that Utah might not dress 7D. They've done it from time to time. We know that Andre Tourigny is not afraid to do that. So
the 11-7. Oh yes. We every day is of the show for a long time now. Very much that that's very much alive in the Andre Tourigny NHL clubs.
Yes, absolutely it is. So, and also, as we take a look at, that setup there, again, the attention on the third line to me is just those guys, McBain, Bjugstad, Crouse. They have to be the ones who stir
like
the
I
drink.
said, that's the power forward line. Those are the ones that use their body to get in front. They know they really focus on, trying to, and I'm going to be very cliche here, but get it to the dirty areas, right? Like it sounds like I'm, literally quoting from that hockey media relations 101, get to the dirty areas, but it's true. That's what that line does. That's what they're designed to do. And if they can do that successfully and get goals, this team's going to win.
Absolutely. And just to kind of wrap up a thought there that I left hanging out, Lamoureux heading down to Tucson. It sounds, Robyn, like the goal for him is to go down to Tucson, be on the top pairing, go back and get the experience that they wanted him to get in the first place. But now they have NHL-capable defensemen up in Utah, and now the focus is for him to go back down and continue his development. Did a great job filling in while he was up here. I think he looked fine. I have no problem with his play, but they obviously want him to munch more minutes.
Yeah, it definitely is that twofold thing with Marino likely back this week. They're like, okay, well, we can bring we can send a D-man down, and I mean, it made sense. They saw where Lamoureux is at in his recovery from his injury. It's like, okay, you're getting healthy. We want you to get first line minutes in the first pair minutes in the AHL, because you're going to be also all that more crucial to us down the road. We want to make sure you develop and become an elite defenseman in a year, 2 years, whatever.
And he's on his way. He's on his
way.
On his way.
And as you said it, earlier, he has he proved that he is capable of playing NHL level minutes, and he can really hold his own. But sometimes those top pair minutes just means just that little bit of extra more, even if it is at that lower, that slight step down into the AHL.
Yeah. And I mean, you get to work on not only you handle the top matchups, right? You're always against the other team's top line. Plus, it's skills, it's fundamentals. Are you doing all the right things, resetting the breakout, making a good first pass? Are you gapping up correctly? All of those things you have to establish and become habit at the American Hockey League level to have success in the NHL. So,
plus, I'm sure as someone that's been around the Tucson Roadrunners, you have Well, I'm pretty sure you have some confidence in the way that John Laine coaches the defense down there.
Yes, absolutely. And I can definitely tell you that, I mean, in my time down there were players who bought in to what they were being told and players who didn't. I can tell you that the players who didn't buy in and tried to do their own thing or figure it out by themselves didn't get very far. So it behooves you to go down there as a young player and take the instructional coaching that you get, which is highly functional, and try to implement that in your game.
Yeah, it certainly will be nice. Would be nice to see, and now that that's the case, and I was telling Tom right before we went on the air here, and said, hey, I need to get back down to Tucson. Be a really good opportunity to watch Maverick Lamoureux live and really get a much closer view. Plus, also, be able to probably talk to them. It's a lot easier to talk to your players down in the AHL level. You get much easier access as a member of media.
I thought you just wanted to hit the restaurant scene down there.
I mean, the food in
Tucson's got some great food. It really does.
It's a UNESCO city of gastronomy for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Just fantastic. If you need food recommendations, if you're ever going to Tucson, and you should, just for the sunsets, both of us can set you. And we probably have totally different recommendations, Robyn. We might have one or two overlap, but that's just how many choices there are. So anyway, just throwing that out there. All right, now that everybody's good and hungry, let's see if we can get them to eat on FanDuel.
Oh, absolutely. Those FanDuel odds are gonna make people maybe a little bit happy, as they say, where the trends are going in this direction. Oh, God.
So my question to you, Robyn, is the over-under at 5.5. This is lower than we normally see it. Is this the time to kind of jump in and make something happen on the 5.5? Because I look at that number and I see a Montreal team. Now, I know Utah hasn't been scoring a lot of goals lately, but I see a Montreal team that very definitely could do some damage here against Montreal. And I think the Canadiens have a couple of big-time goal scorers. Suzuki's having a great year as a captain. Laine is back. Caulfield. I think this is a game that I might actually say the over really fits here.
I would say so. I would say the over really would fit. I'm taking a look at the, in addition to the goalie splits here. I mean, looks like Montreal usually gets the lion's share of the starts here. But even then, you take a look at both Montreal and Primo. It's 901 save percentage, 836 save percentage. Like they're like Montreal is fine, but Primo, we're not quite all there with either one of them. So we'll really have to see how it works. But you're right. I do think that 5.5 is going to it's a good opportunity to take the over in this one.
Do you feel like the money line is a little too?
It's a tough one. I think honestly, if it's me, Tom, I can't confidently put on the money line here. I can say though, maybe take the points.
Yeah, you always like the spread. I know. I
like the spread because it's a little bit safer. Is the money worth it? No, not necessarily. I won't even tell you right now. So Utah Hockey Club 1.5 favorites at plus 156. So I mean, if they and Montreal Canadiens at minus 194. So if you give the points to Montreal at least to lose by one, it's the money's not there, and that's kind of why I'm just like, is it worth it? Is it not? I like to always question it, but based off of that, cash in, I'd say might as well give Utah the points, because there could be a what do you call it? An empty netter in there that gives them just that extra buffer. And I know people hate, like normally I would hate that, but in a game like tonight against the Canadiens, I think that's when you can really take advantage of that.
Yeah, well, I think so too. So, but you know what? Hey, I mean, right now they got a great setup at FanDuel. So if you haven't been over there, get FanDuel.com. Any other thoughts, Robyn, you want to toss out there?
No, I think again this should be a really good opportunity. I said keep an eye out if you're heading into the game today, and maybe if you don't keep up to date, just take a look at see who comes out of that tunnel. And if you see John Marino, then just scream to the heavens that things are coming back in the right direction here.
I feel like he'll be out there for warm-ups no matter what. And even if he doesn't go, I think they'll have everybody taking warmies, and he'll be out there. So they'll probably have 8D in warm-ups. I would not be surprised, because you can still scratch players after warm-ups. So we'll see.
That would be something, right? They play the warm-ups, and all of a sudden, here are your scratches, and then you're like, what?
Mm-hmm. Yep, but I mean, sometimes guys need to see how they feel in warm-ups too. So. But I doubt they would leave it down to a game time decision with him. I will say that. I think they would be more concrete as to whether or not he's ready.
So. Oh yeah, certainly. I feel like we will know by the time probably you guys are all done listening to this episode. If not later on this morning.
Yes. I think that's a fair projection. So all right. Well, if you like what you hear, please subscribe. We appreciate that. And if you're on YouTube, click the like button. And again, it helps us with the algorithm. It helps you with the algorithm. Helps us find each other with more great hockey content. And click the bell for notifications when we drop a new pod. And we do so 5 days a week on the regular. So find me over on Blue Sky. I'm at Tom Talks. I am still on Twitter a little bit at Callahan on air, but really Blue Sky is my new domain. Robyn on X is at Robyn_Leaño. That's Robyn with a Y. And on Blue Sky at Robyn Ice Time. So, Robyn, they can also follow the main accounts of the show, which I think is pretty much everywhere, isn't it?
Pretty much absolutely everywhere. On X/Twitter, Instagram, Threads. You can find us at LO_NHL Utah. You can also find us on Facebook. All you got to do is search up Locked On Utah Hockey Club. And of course, also on Blue Sky. It's just at Locked On Utah Hockey.
And in the meantime, if you need a little help with your fantasy team, go check out our fantasy shows. Those guys do a great job and absolutely fantastic. If you need help with your fantasy hockey lineup, baseball's coming. I know all my baseball fans out there. Woo! Our season's coming too. So a lot to look forward to. But all right, everybody, thanks for joining us. For Robyn Leaño, I'm Tom Callahan. Thank you for listening and or watching the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. We'll talk to you next time.